felt heavy, when hope was hard to find, when every prayer seemed unanswered and every dream stayed behind. I've walked roads filled with questions, wondered if I lost my way, but somehow through the shadows you kept lighting up my days. Every time I thought the story was ending in defeat, you showed me something beautiful and gave my heart a reason to sing. You are one more reason to believe, one more light when I can't see, one more promise I can hold on to when the world lets go of me. Through every mountain, every valley, you've been faithful endlessly. Every breath, every blessing, you're one more reason to believe. I've seen miracles in small things and mercies new each morning light, in doors that open unexpectedly and strength that carried me through the night. What I thought would break me only taught me how to trust, and every step you walked beside me turned my fear into enough. You've never asked for perfection, only a willing heart, and even in my weakness, your grace has done its part. You are one more reason to believe, one more light when I can't see, one more promise I can hold on to when the world lets go of me. Through every mountain, every valley, you've been faithful endlessly. Every breath, every blessing, you're one more reason to believe. When the night says give up now, your love says just hold on. When fear tells me I'm helpless, you remind me I belong. I've come too far to doubt you, I've seen too much to turn away, 'cause every chapter of my story has your fingerprints of grace. So I'll keep singing through the waiting, keep trusting through the unknown, for the God who brought me this far will never leave me alone. You are one more reason to believe, one more hope that never fades, one more anchor in the storm, one more sunrise after rain. Through every season of my journey, through every victory and need, you're the reason my heart keeps beating. You're one more reason to believe. And if tomorrow brings new questions, I'll remember what I've seen, 1,000 signs of your faithfulness, and one more reason to believe, one more reason to believe, has always been you.
I've counted all the moments that I wish I could erase, the promises I shattered, the times I walked away. Every wrong turn left a shadow, every choice a scar to bear, and I carried all the pieces like a burden of despair. I stood beneath the weight of guilt, certain I was too far gone, but then I saw a hill called mercy where your love was hanging on. There was a cross between my failures, standing where my shame should be, a bridge across the distance between who I was and who you see. When my past cried out for judgment, your grace answered the call. There was a cross between my failures, and it carried them all. I tried to hide my weakness, to outrun my mistakes, but the harder that I struggled, the more my heart would break. Then I heard forgiveness whisper through the noise inside my mind, reminding me that mercy leaves no willing soul behind. The chains I thought would hold me lost their power at your feet, for love had already paid the price I never could complete. There was a cross between my failures, standing where my shame should be, a bridge across the distance between who I was and who you see. When my past cried out for judgment, your grace answered the call. There was a cross between my failures, and it carried them all. Not the failures of one moment, not the failures of 1 year, but every hidden sorrow, every regret I carried here. You took them in your wounded hands and bore what I could not, turning condemnation into redemption bought by love. Now I don't have to live in prison by the person I once was, because the story of my rescue was written in your blood. There is a cross between my failures, still standing strong today, a reminder that your mercy never turns a soul away. And when the voice of guilt returns to tell me I should fall, I'll look upon that rugged cross that carried it all. So when I face tomorrow and the memories come to call, I'll remember what stands between them, the cross that carried it all, the cross that carried it all, and the love that conquered them all. I wandered down 1,000 roads, chasing what could never last, building castles out of shadows, running hard from my past. I wore a smile to hide the emptiness, a mask no one could see through, searching for a place to belong, but every road just led me farther from you. I thought I'd gone too far to be forgiven, too broken to be found. Then grace came like a river and turned my life around. I was lost until mercy called, spoke my name through the darkest night. When I couldn't find my way home, mercy became my guiding light. It reached beyond my failures, beyond the walls I'd built so tall. I was lost, I was wandering, I was lost until mercy called. There were chains I couldn't break and wounds I couldn't hide, regrets that followed every step like shadows by my side. I tried to carry all the weight, thinking I deserved the pain, but your love came running toward me and washed away the shame. The voice I thought would judge me was the voice that set me free. And Not because I made things right, but because your heart is faithful and your love never leaves a life behind. You came into my wilderness, found me where I had fallen apart, and turned a weary runaway into a child held in your heart. Now every scar tells a story, every tear reminds me why the God who found me in the valley still walks with me through every climb. I was lost until mercy called, and now my soul has found its song. The chains that once defined me no longer have a hold. Your grace rewrote my future, your love restored it all. I was blind, I was broken, I was lost until mercy called. So when I look back on the journey, at the roads I used to roam, I'll thank the voice that never gave up, the voice that led me home. I was lost until mercy called, and when mercy called, I finally found where I belong.
I sat alone beneath the midnight, with questions scattered in the dark, holding pieces of a dream that life had torn apart. I called your name into the silence, but the silence answered me, and I wondered if my voice had drifted farther than belief. The night grew deep around me, and my faith felt paper thin. But just when I thought hope was fading, you spoke into the wind. That's when heaven whispered back, not in thunder, not in flames, but in a quiet kind of mercy that gently called my name. When my heart was full of questions and my soul had lost its track, I found peace in the stillness when heaven whispered back. You didn't give me every answer, you didn't show me every road, but somehow in your presence the weight became less heavy to hold. You reminded me that seasons don't stay frozen in the rain, and that every broken chapter can still lead to grace again. The darkness didn't disappear, but I could finally see that you had never stopped walking through the valley beside me. That's when heaven whispered back, not in thunder, not in flames, but in a quiet kind of mercy that gently called my name. When my heart was full of questions and my soul had lost its track, I found peace in the stillness when heaven whispered back. It said, child, I see your sorrow, I know the tears you've cried. I've counted every heartbeat, I've never left your side. The road ahead may bend and turn, but my love will always last. And the future I am writing is greater than your past. And for the first time in a long while, the fear began to fade. Not because the storm was over, but because I heard you say, When heaven whispered back, my weary soul could finally rest. I didn't need to know tomorrow, I just needed to know you cared. In the middle of my breaking, I found a hope that would not crack, and everything began to change when heaven whispered back. Now when silence fills the evening, I no longer fear the quiet, for I've learned that sometimes heaven speaks the loudest through its gentlest moments. And I'll always remember the night my heart was brought back from the edge, when heaven whispered back. When heaven whispered back. There were mornings I awakened with a heaviness I couldn't name, carrying yesterday's sorrow like a fire that wouldn't fade. I kept asking for a reason, for a sign that you were near, but all I found were broken answers and the sound of falling tears. Yeah. Somehow in the silence, beyond the pain I couldn't see, you were already working on what was waiting for me. There was a light waiting behind my tears, a promise shining through my fears. When I thought the night would never end, you were guiding me through it all. Every tear became a river, leading me closer to your heart. There was a light waiting behind my tears, and you were there from the start. I spent seasons in the shadows, wondering if the sun would rise, holding on to faith with trembling hands, searching through the darkest skies. But every step through the valley brought me nearer to your grace, and every wound that once defined me became a place your love embraced. The pain that tried to break me could not steal the hope you gave, because your mercy was already making beauty from the pain. There was a light waiting behind my tears, a promise shining through my fears. When I thought the night would never end, you were guiding me through it all. Every tear became a river, leading me closer to your heart. There was a light waiting behind my tears, and you were there from the start. Now I see what I couldn't see then. The storm wasn't the end of me. You were planting seeds of hope beneath the ground of my uncertainty. The tears that fell like rain were watering dreams I thought had died. And through the clouds of sorrow, you were preparing brighter skies. So I won't be afraid of the weeping, I won't be afraid of the night, 'cause every dark road I've walked through has led me closer to your light. There is a light waiting behind my tears, stronger now than all my fears. And though the journey wasn't easy, you never left me on my own. Every tear became a testimony, every scar became a song. There was a light waiting behind my tears, and it was you all along. try to pull my heart apart, I'll remember the light that waited quietly inside your heart. The light waiting behind my tears was your love carrying me home.
I thought I could carry the weight, every burden on my own. Build my walls a little higher, tried to stand through every storm. But the road grew steep and lonely, and the miles wore down my soul. I kept reaching for tomorrow while losing sight of hope. Then the ground beneath me shattered, and I fell to my knees again. That's when I discovered where my strength would end. Where my strength ran out, you began. When I could no longer stand, when my hands were empty, you held me in your hands. I found power in surrender, found courage in letting go. When my strength ran out, you began and carried what I couldn't hold. I spent years trying to prove I was stronger than my fears, hiding every crack inside me, wiping away unseen tears. But weakness has a way of showing what pride tries hard to hide. And the moment I stopped fighting, I found you by my side. I was never meant to bear it all, never meant to walk alone. Your grace was waiting where my strength was gone. When my strength ran out, you began. When I could no longer stand, when my hands were empty, you held me in your hands. I found power in surrender, found courage in letting go. When my strength ran out, you began and carried what I couldn't hold. You were there in the breaking, there in every desperate prayer. When my faith was barely breathing, your love was still right there. The end of me was not the ending, it was where your work could start. You took the pieces of my weakness and rebuilt my weary heart. So I won't fear the valleys, and I won't run from the rain, because every time I reach my limit, I find your strength again. Where my strength ran out, you began, with a hope that never fades. When the darkness tried to claim me, your light showed me the way. Now I know that every ending can become a brand new road. Where my strength ran out, you began, and taught my heart to trust and grow. So if tomorrow brings another mountain, and I don't know how I'll climb, I'll remember where my strength ran out, and where your strength became mine.
I used to fill the air with prayers, words spilling out like rivers wide. But somewhere in the weight of life, my voice got buried deep inside. The days grew long, the nights grew cold, and faith fell farther than the stars. I stopped reaching for the heavens, thinking you'd forgotten where I was. But while I wandered through the day, doubt I tried to hide. When I couldn't find my way to you, you never left my side.
I thought that I had drifted too far, that disappointment built a wall. I wore my shame like heavy chains, convinced you wouldn't hear my call.
But even in the quiet places where I felt unseen and small, your mercy waited patiently, and your love outlasted it all. You never measured my devotion by the words I failed to speak. You stayed through my silence when I had nothing left to say, when my heart was tired of hoping and my knees forgot to pray. You stayed through my questions, through every doubt I tried to hide. When I couldn't find my way to you, you never left my side. Searching for a sign while you were carrying me through. I was waiting for your voice, not knowing you were in the quiet too. In every tear, in every pause, in every lonely sleepless night, your presence was the steady flame that never lost its light. No sermon, no thunder, no mountain moved that day, just a whisper in the stillness saying I'm not walking away. You stayed through my silence, through the seasons I withdrew. When I couldn't feel your presence still proved true. You stayed through my weakness, through the battles in my mind. When I couldn't hold on to my faith, your faithfulness held mine. Now the quiet doesn't scare me, 'cause I've learned what silence means. It's the place where you remind me you're closer than you seem. And when I run out of words again, I know what I will find. The God who stayed through my silence was there the whole time. I knelt beside my bed that night with more questions than belief. 1,000 words were on my heart, but they got lost somewhere in me. I tried to tell you all my fears, every burden I had known, but tears became my only language and silence filled the room. I thought you needed perfect words to hear a soul like mine, but you were listening long before I found the strength to try. You heard the prayer I never finished, the one that broke before it reached the end, the cry beneath the shaking voice, the hope I couldn't fully understand. When all I had were scattered pieces and faith was barely hanging on, you heard the prayer I never finished and answered it all alone. There were days I stopped believing, voice could reach your ears. The weight of disappointment made it hard to persevere. I carried all my failures like stones inside my chest. Yet somehow in my weakness, your mercy met me there. You saw beyond the words I lost, beyond the things unsaid, and held every broken sentence like a treasure in your hands. You heard the prayer I never finished, the one that broke before it reached the end. The cry beneath the shaking voice, the hope I couldn't fully understand. When all I had were scattered pieces and faith was barely hanging on. You heard the prayer I never finished and answered it all alone. You understood the tears I couldn't explain, the questions I was too afraid to name. When my heart was weary and my soul gave away, your love completed every word I couldn't say. You heard the sighs between the silence, the longing hidden deep inside. And when I couldn't find the courage, you stayed right by my side. You heard the prayer I never finished before it ever left my trembling lips. You knew the hurt behind the hurt in the wounds I tried so hard to hide. Now I see your hand was moving even when I couldn't see the dawn. You heard the prayer I never finished, and you were faithful all along. So if my words should fail tomorrow and my strength is nearly gone, I'll remember you still listen to the prayers I leave undone. Because the prayer I never finished was never lost to you at all.
I was walking through the shadows with a heart too tired to pray. Every road felt like a desert, every light had slipped away. Questions echoed in the silence, fear was knocking at my door. I thought I was lost forever, till I saw you there once more. When the thunder filled the heavens and the rain began to pour, I looked down upon the pathway and found a sign I'd missed before. I found your footprints in my storm, right beside the broken ground. When I thought that I was stranded, you were carrying me somehow. Through the waves and through the darkness, you were closer than I knew. I found your footprints in my storm, and everyone led me to you. There were nights I couldn't see you, though I called your name in tears. I was drowning in my weakness,
fighting battles, facing fears. But the places that were shattered now reveal your faithful hand. You were building hope from pieces, even when I couldn't stand. Every scar became a story, every valley showed me grace, and the road I feared would break me brought me closer to your face. I found your footprints in my storm, right beside the broken ground. When I thought that I was stranded, you would carry me somehow. Through the waves and through the darkness, you were closer than I knew. I found your footprints in my storm, and everyone led me to you. Now I know the rain had purpose, though I never understood. You were turning pain to healing, working everything for good. When my strength could go no farther, when my faith was hanging on, you were writing hope and mercy in the middle of the storm. I found your footprints in my storm, guiding every step I take. Through the seasons of uncertainty, you remain my hiding place. And if another storm should find me, I won't fear what I go through, 'cause I've seen your footprints in my storm, and know they'll lead me back to you. When the clouds have all been scattered and the sky is clear and warm, I'll remember how you found me through the footprints in my storm. I carried every failure like a shadow on my back, every wrong turn, every heartache, every dream that slipped the tracks. I thought my story ended on the pages stained with shame, certain I had gone too far to ever hear you call my name. I stood among the ruins of the life I could not mend, but mercy met me there and said, this is not the end. Grace wrote my name again, where guilt had crossed it out. When I thought I was forgotten, love erased every doubt. You saw beyond my brokenness, beyond the places I had been, and with hands of endless mercy, grace wrote my name again. I spent years chasing answers in places that left me dry, trying to earn forgiveness with 1,000 reasons why, but no amount of striving could undo what grace had done. You opened up the door I closed and called me back as your own. The chains I thought would hold me lost their power in your light, and the past that used to haunt me could no longer define my life. Grace wrote my name 'cause your love is greater than the darkest part of my life. You didn't see a lost cause, you didn't see defeat. You saw a child worth saving and came running after me. Every scar became a testimony, every tear became a song. What I thought would be my ending became where you proved me wrong. Grace wrote my name again in letters I could finally read. Not condemned by my mistakes, but redeemed by what you see. Now I stand beneath your promise, no longer who I've always been, for the cross has had the final word. Grace wrote my name again. And when I look back at the pages filled with sorrow, fear, and pain, I'll remember how your mercy gracefully wrote my name again, and it never faded away.